So I want to start with the verse we covered yesterday on the 8 verses of mind training. With the thought of attaining awakening for the welfare of all beings who are more precious than the wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. And yesterday I talked about holding them dear. That is not the prescription, that is not the practice, but that it is the result of practices. Being able to hold yourself and others dear. And this text is a possibility for us to explore practices which makes it possible for us to hold ourselves and others dear. And obviously one aspect of the practice of holding others dear is to hold yourself dear. And that is one capacity, one skill you train in meditation. Being with yourself. So holding the different aspects of yourself, the different members of the internal family system dear. Particularly those aspects of yourself. And when I say yourself, I'm talking about an open system, a process. So here yourself not as a singular, autonomous, separate me, the illusion which is created by the narrative self, but holding your experience as it is dear, and holding the different aspects of yourself, the different members of your internal family system dear, particularly the ones you are harsh with, particularly the ones you have excluded into the subconscious mind, out into the cold, trying to lock the doors. So for us, I think it's one of the most important directions. What you exclude in yourself, you exclude in others. What you can't hold dear in yourself, you can't hold dear in others. So let's check in. How's the weather, the inner weather? And you really take the time to adjust your posture. And then you might want to close your eyes. And meeting yourself. So your awareness slides into the body, into the aliveness of the body. Even down into your feet and legs, into the trunk of your body. meeting yourself as a friend. It's a possibility to lightly rest in the flow of the in and out breath. And then you rest in the midst of your experience. Notice that there's parts of your body who feel more alive, more flowing, and parts who feel more stuck or numb. And you just notice. That noticing is effortless. And thoughts have nothing to contribute to this, so just allow them to do their thing in the background, neither trying to suppress them, nor indulging them. And appreciating how whatever you experience is happening within the space of awareness, the space of consciousness. If you notice that you want to attain something or you want to get rid of something, with the out-breath, it's possible to relax that grasping. like a flower opening. And if you get entangled, identified, you make a backward step into witness consciousness. You make a backward step into from where you are looking. And then you rest, doing nothing. And then within the space of your awareness arises in front of you the Buddha, your teachers, masters, who embody loving kindness, wisdom, courage, essence love. And they rise within the space of awareness like the morning sun in the blue sky. Illuminating the boundaryless space of awareness with their loving gaze, with their warmth, and everything within the space of your awareness is illuminated by love. You hear them, smell them, feel their presence. rest. Just bathing. It's not important to have visual images. Noticing the essence love which is always pervading, underlying, surrounding the present moment. In present moment awareness, you always have everything available. You need to be complete. You need to be whole. It's always available. And just sitting in the presence of your mentors within the space of your awareness, like in a dream, you become more and more like them. Every cell of your body. Returning, making the backward step and resting. then within the space of your awareness, the images of your mentors dissolve, and their energy, their essence of their light fills your body completely. Particularly in the heart area. And you become aware of the Buddha within. The goddess within. And from the sacred, centerless, boundaryless center, essence love radiates through the pores of your body into all directions. The whole mandala of your life is illuminated by loving kindness and wisdom. Going into the past, the present, and the future. And then you rest as the source. And then we conclude this meditation with the aspiration of bodhicitta. May this being awaken to its full potential for the benefit of all. May this being grow up and wake up for the benefit of all. So I say, may this being wake up. And because when we say I, usually it lands in the narrative self. So if in the sentence, may I wake up, and the I lands in the narrative self, then that's not going to happen. The I will not wake up, can't wake up, doesn't want to wake up. And often our spiritual practice is the attempt of the narrative self to be a better narrative self. And that's not what spiritual practice is about. The I has to die, or has to be seen as illusionary. You can't wake up as yourself. Although we try. So, to use this being is just a way to relax that identification. Yesterday I talked about holding others dear. And that the most important insight here, to allow that to emerge, it's not something we need to create, holding others dear. It is something to discover within us. So to discover within us that which naturally, effortlessly holds everything dear. It's in its very nature to hold everything dear, including the narrative self. So the most important thing for us is to realize emptiness. To realize that there's nobody here. To to realize that the prison we experience is made up by the bricks of the narrative self, of the conceptual mind. And when that is seen or experienced, only love makes sense, effortlessly, because that what remains is essence love. Then I suggested another kind of more relative, more provisional approach to this, and that is to start to relate to ourselves, to relate to this being as a flexible process, as a potential. Discovering and relating differently to the different aspects of yourself or the different members of your internal family system. And realizing that there's no one in control. And that within the internal family system, there are hurt parts. And these parts might act violently, greedy, jealous, addicted. And if we start to see that in ourselves, we start to see that in others. And we don't fall into that trap of cognitive fusion, of focusing on one aspect of ourselves or a person and then believing that is the person. That's me. The not good enough me, the traumatized me, the addicted me, the violent me, and then responding to that hallucination, not responding to the complexity of yourself or another person, but to respond to that one aspect. If you see that, it's very easy to hold people dear. Because they just struggle and suffer just like you. So holding other people dear doesn't mean that you are supposed to become a doormat. Holding other people dear doesn't mean not to speak up in the face of injustice. Holding other people dear might mean that you will never see that person again. Holding other people dear, an expression of that, to give a kick in the ass. This is very important. Because there is aspect within us who feel when we hold someone dear, that means we need to love that person. I mean, love in the sense of you can dislike someone and hold him dear. You can recognize it's dangerous for me to be around that person and still hold that person dear. You can hold a person dear and cut all contact. And probably even from a spacious heart to set boundaries is probably even more effective than doing it from reactivity, doing it from hatred, doing it from self-righteousness. That usually just escalates the situation, and it doesn't support your own well-being. Hatred never does. Jealousy never does. Violence never does contribute to your fundamental well-being. There is this nice image in the Buddhist teachings that being angry with someone or acting angry towards someone is like grabbing hot, glowing coals with your own hands and then throwing them. So forgiveness is actually something you do for yourself, forgiving another person. Part of this is also understanding and seeing that everything you experience within awareness, within the space of your awareness. When you see that, you realize you meet only yourself. And even treating things in disrespectful ways is treating yourself disrespectful. Because all you have is the space of your awareness. If you treat this thing respectfully, lovingly, gently, then you treat yourself respectfully, lovingly, gently. And this is something to explore, something to experience, something to not only to understand intellectually, but directly. This is like a dream. So imagine you have a dream in the night about someone being violently to you, overstepping your borders. And in the morning you wake up and you realize, oh, this was a dream. This was actually happening within me. This violence in the dream is within me. It's not coming from outside. It's me. Dreams are wonderful for that kind of insight. Dreams are wonderful to reflect back to you the different aspects of your being, particularly the aspects which are in the so-called shadow, the parts we don't want to see in ourselves, and we love to see them in others. So there's some more kind of provisional approaches to hold other people dear. One of them is, and after the break I want to lead a meditation. One of them is to appreciate how dependent we are on others. So Langri Tangpa in his text says, others are like a wish-fulfilling jewel. So the wish-fulfilling jewel is a myth of these amazing jewels which can, which fulfills all wishes. It's the jewel Shenrizik, you know. In his hands you see this blue shimmering jewel. That's the wish fulfilling jewel, the jewel of bodhicitta. So not only are we depending on others in terms of food, shelter, are depending on others in terms of learning, we are social beings. Relationship is the most important aspect of a human life. This is what our life, what as social animals, which makes our life meaningful. Relationships, friendship. This is definitely part of the meaning of our life as humans, is friendship. And in order to have friends, there need to be people. There need to be others. We have mothers, we have fathers, we have families. Probably for most of us, none of the food you have eaten in this life you grew yourself. This room is made by others. This is different than an attitude of, oh, I'm alone and I can figure it out myself. I take care of myself. I can't trust anyone. I'm independent. Even what we know, what we have learned in our life, not only the spiritual teachings, but everything. I mean, I think if I'm honest and I look into what I say and what I do, I think I didn't have one creative idea in my life. There's sometimes in other people, they have new ideas, trailblazers, who really bring into the human consciousness something new. Yeah. It didn't happen here so far. Whenever I sit here and I say a sentence, it comes from somewhere else. And most of the time I actually still know where it comes from. My narrative self likes to claim them, but and hide the source. So after the break, I want to lead you into this meditation, and most of you have done it before, where we go back into our life and appreciating all the people who have contributed to our life. Which, when we make it really, when we really go into this, we start to discover that we are connected with all beings. All beings have contributed to our life. And there is also, within that, there's also starting to see that even the challenging people are the ones who are contributing to our life. It's the challenging people where we can develop genuine compassion. I mean, it's beautiful to have care and compassion and warmth to people we like and to people who are good to us. That's beautiful. But that's a kind of limited kind of, it's a limited kind of compassion. So we need even the difficult people in our life. That's where we are challenged. That's where our limits are reflected to us. We can't practice without difficult people. So that's one. In this meditation is one of the preparations for bodhicitta within the bodhicitta training. It's called the meditation on equanimity. No, it's on the kindness of others. The meditation on the kindness of others, often being done through the kindness of the mother. The second meditation in the preparation for bodhicitta, that's the meditation on equanimity. So this is the reflection on the fact that we all struggle. We all want to be happy and we all try to avoid suffering. And this includes also successful people. They also struggle. They also suffer. They suffer and will suffer from old age, sickness and death and loss. So the insight into all-pervasive, common human suffering is another powerful meditation which might help us to start to hold other people dear, to feel a sense of kinship as fellow travelers on this amazingly difficult human life. It's not easy to come to that insight because it means also to dive deeply into your own struggle, into your own pain. You know, stopping to pretending that everything is fine, because it's not fine. It's hard for everyone. So there can be a tenderness towards beings, including the animals, because we are sitting in the same boat. So the challenge here is, out of habit, we spend most of the time within the identification with the narrative self, which is a preoccupation with me, mine, myself. So these kind of meditations, once we found something which works for us, something which we feel is meaningful, that we have to work on it. We have to repeat more than taking it as an intellectual discussion in our head, but actually bringing our body into the meditation, feeling the possibility to hold other people dear, to feel it in the body. And you can't be violent there. Like, oh, I should. And we are all different, so it's your job to find your own words, your own moves within that kind of meditation. Not putting on a straitjacket of words or practices which are just not working for you. So you try out different methods, and then you disregard those where you feel, no, that's not working for me. It worked for the Dalai Lama, but not for me. So what else is there? Try not to stick with a practice which is not empowering you. I mean, not like after trying it once, yeah. So, but if you have worked with a meditation, with a reflection for a few months, and you notice it's just not lightening me up, then try something else. So let's go to the second, and then we will have a break. Whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all. And from the very depths of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. Whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all. And from the very depths of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. So definitely, this doesn't mean, this is not an encouragement for low self-esteem. Yeah. So this is a practice for someone who is in contact with his or her intrinsic value, with his or her intrinsic beauty. A really beautiful example for this, where you can observe this, is within when you observe His Holiness the Dalai Lama, how he relates to others. I mean, here he is the superstar, and he takes care to meet the cleaner in the room, not from a position of superiority, but from a position of service, of love, of respect, on the same level. What can I do for you? How can I help? I see you as an equal. And there's like little things which come to my mind where that kind of attitude is shining through. I remember many years ago, I just was a monk for, I don't know, maybe a few weeks. And then I met this senior monk. He had been ordained for like 30 years or something like that. And teacher. And he was just sitting there somewhere in a dining room, I don't remember where it was, with some other senior monks. And I approached that table, and he got up and stepped towards me and greeted me, as a brother. And this impressed me so much. I thought, wow. Many people, they would just, it's just like, it's just someone like it's lower than me, like, because I'm this, I have this position, I have this CV. Who are you to want to talk with me? Yeah. So it's these little things. It's still in my mind, and I aspire to be the same. Then I remember when I was the director in Nalanda Monastery, there was this guy who did some weeks of retreat in the monastery. And in the end he said to me, the most wonderful thing for me and the most impressive thing for me was cooking with you together in the kitchen. And you are the director of this place, and you are still cooking for everyone. Why don't you take yourself from the cooking list? Because I made it. Yeah. And it's not that, the wonderful thing there is, it brings joy to me. First doing it, but also then his joy in it became my joy. And probably you have had experiences like this, where you were surprised that the CIO of your company was just treating you like an equal. The senior doctor in a hospital where you are a patient, he treats you like an equal, not from a role of superiority, seeing you as a person. Those things like that happens, and some people have that naturally, and they actually actively work against that kind of projections, that kind of hierarchy. And you know how it feels. It's so beautiful to be seen and to be met and to be listened to and to be treated respectfully. Oh, what do you have to say? There was a student in Malmö think he was 92, something like that. And he said to me, "I'm your oldest student." And he was one of the pioneers of humanistic psychotherapy in Sweden. And he had written books and worked, with, people, the founders of psychotherapeutical methods in the West. And he had trained with them. And here he was with 93. "Oh, what do you have to say? I'm here, I want to learn, I want to listen." He was curious. So this was like, and he was just also resting in himself and his life experience, obviously. So it was not like, so here being the lowest has nothing to do with, disrespect to yourself or it's difficult to kind of find the right word, but I think you get what I mean. Yes.
I'm just thinking about to see yourself as the lowest. It is in a way maybe harder when you are the cleaner, or if you're, because you can have a good self-esteem, of course, or when you are the lowest in a hierarchical structure, because it is beautiful that someone, maybe the chief doctor or so, does that, but it's different when you are maybe the youngest or the most experienced to sort of. I don't know what you.
What do you think? What would be a direction to go for the one who is the lowest in the hierarchy?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it, and now I'm sort of in my workplace. We are many psychologists and one boss, so it's and the cleaners. I always like, they are always quiet and they are different, and so I'm trying to think how would, I don't know. It's something that I don't have an answer to, and also, yeah.
So if
because
you
sometimes when you see yourself as lower, like in a hierarchy, then I guess it's not that is intended. I don't know what. It's easier when you're, I'm so low, but I know more than that. It's I don't know. No, it's just something that came up.
Yeah, it's a good point. So what I would try now is to imagine myself walking in the shoes of a cleaner and how that feels and what would be wholesome.
Yeah. I guess I'm getting at also that because we are all privileged in some ways, and I guess we are all not privileged in other ways. I mean, I'm an academic and I had good opportunities, and then I'm also like a single mother, so sometimes I feel really like not the norm, and I feel like lower than everyone, all my colleagues with are married. So I guess it's also to not only imagine that also
find it already.
Because then
yes.
you're in a way above.
Yeah.
It's not so easy, and to find where am I actually feeling like that.
That's right.
I can imagine also for her or him, how is it to feel like him, but also to find that spot where you actually have experienced, I guess.
So what would be a wholesome direction for you as the single mother, where you feel sometimes lower?
I mean, it's really wholesome to also find community to share that. I mean, to know others who are maybe in the same situation, or who are not like in the normative in that way. To not only see what I don't have, for example.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what comes. Because I also actually find it awesome to see myself as the low. I mean, I can also relate to that.
But that kind of lowest is the like the unwholesome kind of lowest. Like that's like a lack of self-respect.
Yeah, but also the other part. I think I'm trying to get both parts of it.
Yeah, it's very good. So this is a good example. Our exploration now, how a first like this can help us to look inside and increase our self-discovery and introspection. That so now by reflecting on it, one can become aware. There's different personalities there. Yeah. And they need different kinds of medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I can share something from my own experience. Taking care of my mother. So that would be cooking, cleaning, going shopping, and it's slow. I mean, it's like there's no, there's no. It's such a simple activity, and I could feel, wow, I'm wasting my time. I could, I could be the teacher somewhere in the top dog. Yeah. And also when I was in Nalanda, in the monastery, I like this simple service, cleaning the toilet and for me it's about in that kind of activities, for me it is about enjoying and being proud of simple acts of service. So if I imagine myself, and sometimes I wish I would spend more time in that kind of activities. I would wish for myself in this kind of positions that I would be proud and fulfilled with the service I give, of cleaning a room for another person. To empower myself as the single mother, as the servant, as the person who makes breakfast for someone, as the person who takes care of your sick partner. You're not putting it down. Appreciating the little things.
have been working as a cleaner many times as my work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have never felt that I am the lowest one.
Mm-hmm.
The last.
How did you do that?
What?
How did you do that?
I felt like I was equal to the other people
Mm-hmm.
who was working in this.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the last working place where I was a cleaner was in a daycare center for children, and the other one who are working there with the children and the cooker. And I felt, and I was treated like equal to them. So I felt they were respectful to me,
Mm-hmm.
and
So that was
and
that was then quite easy. So they didn't treat you.
Yes, but I think it is also depending on how I depend on myself
Right.
at work.
Yeah.
How I felt
Mm-hmm.
for the working, because I have a feeling that to clean is an important work.
It is.
How should
Yeah.
it look if we didn't clean?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember when Lama Pema was here, he said that when he come back home to New York, he said, "Oh, it's so dirty here. Why is it so dirty here?" They say when he has been away. "Oh, it's not. It's because I not have been here and cleaning," he say then to them who is living in. So,
Yeah.
so it's so important.
Yes.
So and I think I have felt that when I was younger also, that it is important work.
What would you say to a person who has a cleaning job who feels low, in the sense of I'm just this cleaner, and I don't contribute much?
Yeah. I think I will say that you are important with this work you are doing.
Mm.
And say that I have also been a cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
So the one don't feel alone in the work. I
Mm.
think sometimes it can looks like you're very alone working. You're just yourself, you're cleaning. But I think yeah,
Mm.
something like that. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so let's have a break, and then 15 minutes, and then we will do another meditation.